Hello everyone and welcome back to Holiday Lighting and Creations. I'm Jordan and today I'll be showing you how to make this candy cane archway for the entrance of your home at Christmas time. Let's get started. To get started building the archway, I'm using a 4x8 sheet of 1/2 inch sanded plywood. And the reason why I'm using the sanded plywood is because it's really smooth. That way when I paint on my stripes for the candy cane later, I can use the tape without the paint bleeding under it if there was a defect in the wood. This wood doesn't have any defects. And to get started, I'm going to draw one candy cane this way and then the other one this way. That way they both fit on the same sheet and I don't waste any wood. So I decided I want the candy cane to be 10 inches wide. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to measure 10 inches all the way down to the other side. After I've sketched out the 10-inch width all the way down to the candy cane, I've come to the top to create the curved part of the candy cane. As you can see, I have the candy cane traced out the way I want it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my jigsaw and I'm going to cut this candy cane out. With this candy cane cut out, we can now move on and trace it onto the plywood for the next candy cane. But I'm not going to trace it, for example, like this on the same side, because when you cut with the jigsaw, it makes whatever side you're cutting on rough, and we want the front side smooth. And if we did that, our candy canes would be facing the same way with the smooth side. So I'm going to flip my plywood over like that, place my candy cane on like that, and then I'm just going to trace it and then cut it out. With the remaining wood, I've created the archway that will connect the two candy canes together, and I've created mine 48 inches from one end to the other. That way my candy canes can overlap each side about 3 inches, and the opening to walk through will be 42 inches wide. And the candy canes are only 96 inches tall, and my front porch is 102 inches all the way to the top board. So I created my arch like this, where this part right here will be at 102 inches so I can connect it to the front porch. Now that all the pieces are cut out, I'm just going to go around the edges with some sandpaper to smooth everything out. I have my archway laid out on the ground, and as you can see right here, this is how the arch piece will overlap. It will be on the back side though, it's just on the front right now, just so you can see how it will overlap. Just like that, and then the top piece in the center right here is where it will connect to my front porch at 102 inches, and it'll also connect on each side over here. Once you have your candy cane painted white, it's now time to add the stripes. So I'm going to give you my measurements for my stripes. So what I do is, on my first one, I measure 10 inches up on this side. And then after 10 inches, I'm going to measure to 8 inches, so to 18. And then right here, this is the starting point for my first line. And then I'm going to measure 8 inches up from here. And then after 8 inches on this side, I'm going to measure up 10 inches to 18 here. So with your straight edge, it should look like this once you draw it. So this section right here will stay white, and this section right here will be my red. So I'm going to do this all the way up, so the next piece will be 10 inches up from this line, and this will be white, and then red, and then so on. To the curved section, it can be kind of tricky to figure out how to draw the lines, so I recommend drawing them lightly. And I made my red section smaller than my white sections throughout my whole candy cane, so that's what I also did here. I'm now going to plot my points on my candy cane where all the stripes are, and to do that I've created a 1 inch wide strip of plywood, because I set the strip like this on the side, and then I find the center point of each stripe and put a dot. To create the holes in the candy cane, I'll be using this step-up drill bit, and I'll be drilling each hole to this measurement right here that says 1 7/32 of an inch, where there'll be 2 rings sticking out that do not go in the wood. And then I will flip the candy cane over, and in the same hole, but on the back side, I will use the same drill bit and drill down, but to 1 1/8 of an inch, where there's 3 rings left sticking out. With this sample board, I'm going to show you how I create the hole with the step-up drill bit. So let's get started. Once you have your holes drilled on each side with the measurements I gave you from the step-up drill bit, you're going to take your socket on the back side like this, and it fits in perfectly without falling through the hole. You're going to flip it over, and then you're going to take your bulb and you're going to screw it in just like that. So that way your bulb is on one side and the socket's on the other. For the archway that will connect to the candy canes, on each side I've drawn where they're going to overlap on this side and this side. And I also decided I'm going to use a blow mold wreath in the center like this. So I found the center point and I drew a dot where the wreath will go, and then a half circle where the wreath will cover this wood. And on this side and this side, in between the wreath, I measured and drew my points where I will drill my holes for my light bulbs. All of my holes have now been drilled in my candy cane with the step-up bit. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take some paint and I'm going to paint the insides of where the holes were just drilled so I can seal up that area. And then from there, I'm going to do any other touch-ups with the white paint. And after that's done, I'm going to take some tape and then I'm going to tape off where my lines are so I can paint on the red. And you might be wondering, why didn't I just paint the white on the candy cane after I drilled the holes? And that's just because I didn't want to draw my lines on here twice when I was measuring where each hole goes. I now have a completed candy cane with 30 holes cut out into it. So what I'm going to do now is add my lights. And to do that, I'm using this C9 socket wire, and I've cut it where there's 30 sockets on this line. And I've already added my plugs, and there's a video link in the description below that I show you how to add your plugs to your socket line. And I also have my bulbs right here I'm going to use. And all of these materials can be found at the link below on my website. And to get started, I'm going to start with the male plug at this end. I'm going to run the socket line and screw in all the bulbs all the way around until I reach the end down here. For my arch, I've cut 5 sockets out of the socket line for this section right here. I have my male plug, which will go right here, and that will connect to the inline female plug on the candy cane I just did. I have a jumper cord, which will connect to this socket wire, and an inline female, and that's for my wreath that'll go in the middle. And then another 5 sockets from the socket wire that'll do this section right here. And then the female plug will end right here so I can start my new lights for the other candy cane. This is what it looks like when I have all the sockets put in place on my arch. And you can see right here where the jumper cord is, it connects with the inline female plug for the wreath. You will need to add an inline female plug on this candy cane. That way you can connect your archway lights right here. I'm going to put the lights in the other candy cane now, but I'm actually going to start the socket right here in this hole, right where my arch connects, because my female end for my arch is right here. So I'm going to take my male plug and connect it to that one and start my socket wire like this and go all the way around. And then my female plug for those lights will end right here. On the back of the candy cane, I zip tied the loose wires together so they don't overhang on the edges. And I use zip ties just because they'll be easy to remove at the end of the season, because I will be removing the lights, which will make it easy for storage. And this is what the completed candy cane archway will look like. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I wish you luck building yours. Thank you for watching. Please like this video down below and subscribe for more of my content. Thank you and Merry Christmas.